Okay, so I think I like that one. I'm just don't really like the color right now. So we'll go with something a little different and see what that looks like. Need a little more contrast than that. So maybe go with more of a gray. I am just not liking those colors I'm picking. Let's try something more greeny and bright. That's better. Okay, so I'm just going to hit this brush a couple of times. Some of the brushes have a really hard edge to them, so you do have to be a little bit careful. Like continuing a brush over and over again, because sometimes it just doesn't look good. Like you can tell that you've just done like brush, 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 brush. So that's something you have to pay attention to. This particular brush has kind of a faded edge, so it actually works fairly well. So for the background right now, I'll probably leave that alone, and I might actually set my foreground color to, let me just make that invisible for a minute. I'm just going to set my foreground and background color to these colors. So that's foreground. And pop that up and set the background to like that color. Okay, so I'm doing that so that if I go into some filters, I know that those are the two colors that it's going to be using. So before adjusting my actual color, actually, you know, I'm going to do that first because in case I don't find a filter that does what I want. I'm going to go to hue saturation. I'm going to hit colorize. Whoops. Gotta always make sure you're on the right layer. Adjustments, hue saturation. Okay, so I'm going to hit colorize so I can make myself all blue, and I'm going to try and get a tone of blue that kind of goes with the color in the image. So that works pretty good. I might actually, on that layer that I put the brushes in, I might just go to hue saturation on that for just a minute because I'm just interested in possibly changing that a hair. So sometimes if you pick a color and you don't, like it and it's on a separate layer, you can always go in and play with it a little bit. So that I like a little better. And the other thing I might try on that brush layer quickly is brightness contrast. So let's just see what happens. We up the, yeah, that I like better now. Okay. So back to the layer that I'm in, and now I'm gonna go to filters. I'm gonna go to the filter gallery. Okay, so I might be just doing a filter that's going to go on top of the color blue that I made myself already. Or you might be using like a sketch filter, which is going to use the two colors that are in your toolbar. So if you don't like the way those two colors are coming out, you would just cancel the filter and go and change those colors and then go back into the filters. You can try and set them to something you think will work ahead of time, which is what I did, but anyways. So right now I'm not really sure I want to do like something that textury right this minute. So, although I kind of like that. Let's see, remember all your filters have adjustments, and that you don't want to do anything that is going to really like distort your features so that they're like unrecognizable. You can also put filters on top of each other. So if I like this one, I'm going to say okay, right? It's going to change it. Then I'm going to go back to the filter gallery. This top one will just apply the same filter again, so I have to go down to the one that's lower. Okay, so now what I want to do is look for something else to put with that filter. And you kind of just gotta click around and see what you get. So some of these you have to be careful with because they like overly distort you. And remember that you can adjust them, so it might be better just a little tiny bit as opposed to a lot. That one I'm thinking about. I'm going to try some of the sketch ones. That's using the two colors that I have it set to. Most of these look like they're not going to give me as much detail. If you like this chrome filter, for whichever element you might be doing, it does come up with the gray, but you can go to hue saturation and you can add, you can do colorize and you can get a color into it, so it's not just gray. Okay, so I'm not really feeling any of those filters. And I might just leave it with the one that I have for right now, although I might put that little bit of ocean ripple on there. And again, you can always like click and you can see the little bit of a difference. That added a little bit of distortion to it. Okay, so my next step would probably be to start like layering some things in front of me and see how that goes. So I'm gonna go look and see what other water brushes I have. I'm thinking I want something kind of splashy and like a lighter color. So I'm gonna make this like a really light blue so I can see what that looks like, and then you kind of just have to try them out. So don't like that. What is that one? Ew, it's like a water funnel. Alright, I might try this splash. Okay, so I kind of like that to kind of camouflage me in the front a little bit and kind of like hide the clothes. I would suggest though that you pick like two colors. So maybe we'll pick a little bit of a darker color and try to layer a little bit. Well, it helps if I switch it. Okay, so put that one in front, just so that it's not like, again, the same brush just being clicked over and over again in the same color. So, oops, you can get a little bit more texture in there. I'm just going to pick a little bit different color like that. And maybe I'll hit that right there a little bit. And then go back to the lighter color and maybe a little bit smaller. And just kind of pop one up there. So kind of building up that like splash effect a little bit. And again, it's a lot of times it's about like layering. And this brush